I was just mentioning that right now we have the threat of Hurricane Barry approaching. It should practically be arriving at the Yucatan Peninsula next time tomorrow, like this next time. And I've had people who have been talking to me in there. No, it didn't even cross their mind that they wanted to insure their helmet, right? So they called me to ask, hey, why do you handle home insurance? I say, yes, I do. Home insurance can protect you against fires,
Boys and girls who have
your property, broken glass, jewelry, theft, money,
and that's
responsible for any damage your house causes to your neighbors. The knot doesn't loosen. And then the repair for that damage to your neighbor's property, well, your home policy, well, it's going to cover those damages you might cause, right? In the United States, it's very common. Someone is walking by your door and they slip, they sue you. Yes, exactly. There's a liability coverage in your home policy that will let you play those years, right? Right now, it's common here in Mérida for houses to have glass walls, right? Instead of doors, you have like glass walls. Those windows, strong glass, sliding glass windows. Well, if they get damaged now and a hurricane is coming, these hurricane winds of 120, 150, 200 kilometers per hour, well, they aren't exempt from being tried out, right? Your insurance policy, home insurance will allow you to cover up to a certain amount, right? How do I work with people who are interested in home insurance? First, we need to assess the ELIRA, the worth of
let's call it your house then, like
with
that.
millions of pesos.
Do you want to insure it for the total theft coverage?
Nalen, the value of your house, or you can to the value of your house, right? Assuming the risk that if your house is completely destroyed, where they won't cover it, the total value, but rather what you are considering. So it's important at the beginning to make an assessment so that you can minimize those risks, right? Check what coverages are available, see you're going to choose, right? The coverages you want, you can remove them, you can add them, and one might think that home insurance is expensive, right?
It's expensive if you don't think about it.
For the risk of losing your assets, imagine that a cyclone destroys your house, destroys everything you've worked so hard for, save up over the years, and then all of a sudden they can break, right? Or you suddenly arrive home and someone has entered your house and on your property. So all these and insurance, whether it's home, life, medical expenses, or auto, it will minimize those risks for you. And fortunately, travel with these 20 years of experience, yes, that could help many people who were referred at some point. They are already my clients. And fortunately, I haven't had many accidents. I haven't had deaths in the claims that have been made till me.
That's right.
Because I had to, or they had to use the policy for medical expenses. It's much more common, and see the financial peace of mind people have, knowing that their assets won't be affected. You won't have to sell your house. You won't have to getting into debt, maxing out your card, signing promissory notes. Why? Because you are limiting your responsibility. Thank you very much. There is a little more culture, but not enough we have to keep working to raise awareness among people about the importance, right? And not wait until you are already. You have the event in front of you to, at that moment, they might tell you, well, you know what? It's no longer possible.
Sure. I felt to you. And in the case of real estate, there are various insurance options that cover different things and scenarios, I imagine. That would be the part of, as you mentioned, a theft, which would be something not caused by the weather. For structure, I think, right? And from there, suddenly also a hurricane or something that can
within the conditions. Now, that's when I wanted a policy. Regular home insurance includes coverage against property damage, property fire protection with the coverage against theft, right? Well, as I mentioned earlier, right, you have money you have in a safe at home and want to protect that amount of money, that coverage can be included. No, you have maid service. And also you are not exempt from domestic service. Eat some of your belongings, you can cover that. You can, as I mentioned, the issue with the glass, right? You want to protect the windows when the glass thickness exceeds 4 millimeters. Coverage will be provided to them. There are additional services that you can, for example, hire. If you need in the care of a plumber, or if you had a situation at home, an electrical issue, you can get this coverage to your home, a guy with a truck, an electrician to help you with this situation.
a memory of our friends.
Exactly.
Oh, there's also insurance for that. Okay, bye. All right.
And for example, talking about hydrometeorological phenomena, which is what we are exposed to right now, since they are coming in the next few days, that is usually not there all year round. At the moment, the insurance company to say and accepting the risk when issuing your policy. From that moment, they are exposed to any damage. According to the conditions of your property, they are going to assume the risk. So there are certain dates when it's hurricane season, which is usually between June and October. During that time of year, we're at risk of having hurricanes. So there are some insurance companies that allow you to cover the risk up to certain dates. And there are some insurers that specify during hurricane season. Can you get back home? Yes. But against hydrometeorological phenomena, no. For example, I have clients who have their solar panels, right? Taking advantage of the fact that we have sunshine here. No. So this is the panel generates energy that allows you to reduce
your costs, right? During periods of chemistry.
April and May, those are really hot months.
Basically saying nobody.
If you have it broken down here at home, you're going to be dying of heat, right? So people hire for
at the same time,
but
right?
the panel is not exempt from a situation where there is a tornado should come here.
Always with me, yes.
Right? So within your home coverage, or instead get solar panel coverage so that in case the solar panel gets damaged, well, your insurance policy takes care of it for you.
Are there parts of an insurance policy that don't cover certain things? Any exceptions to what is not covered? Insurance, or always some insurance to cover specific things?
Normally, we go back to the same thing, to the
For example, your house's works. You want the coverage for glass, coverage for meteorological phenomena, coverage for theft. They're limited, they say. You have coverage for property damage of X amount of money. But your coverage for the glass will be there. You will have a minimum and a maximum. So you will decide within that range how much you want to have. No, that would be at the ASC, the limitation, right? Also, well, when assessing the risk, we have to ask if the house it's made of cement, the house has sheet metal roofs. If it's rubbish like they handle it here in Yucatan, then depending on the conditions of the property, that's what they'll allow you to insure.
Okay, well, it depends on the construction and the finishes and whether the outer part is covered or not. Perfect. And when it comes to costs, it will vary according to the coverage and the capacity.
Yes, Maria, depending on the value you're assuming. For example, I just insured the property is the coverage was 1.5 million pesos. Includes hydrometeorological phenomena. Within hydroelectric phenomena, 200,000 pesos were allocated to cover what are panels, what are the air conditioners, the stationary tank, the TINA-KEFO, and glass. I think it was 150,000 pesos to cover the glass. This coverage costs approximately 14,500 pesos per year, right? When you issue the policy, you are asked if you want policies that will renew annually. They will ask you if you want that when in the insured amount, but it's not the same as your house being worth 2 million pesos today. But next year your house strength, well, its value increased. So if you keep your insured sum at 2 million pesos, well, it's going to stay below the value, right? So you can at the moment get the policy, and when it renews the next year, your insured amount will automatically adjust according to inflation so that you maintain that purchasing power.
Okay, so it was like a fraction of the price it would have been.
Increasing gradually every year because your insured sum will go up each year.
Sure. So it's not as expensive as some people
You think it might be
is.
expensive. I mean, for the value you're going to pay versus the value you're going to insure. Imagine that. What would you prefer to pay? 15,000 pesos a year? That you might lose a valuable property, significant, and lose 1.5 million.
Thanks, of course.
If you compare, the cost of benefit is minimal in relation to what you will no longer have in case of an incident.
Of course, we are talking about numbers like $777. With the exchange rate at 18, it would be more or less annually for a home insurance of
1.5 million pesos next time.
And $1,500,000 would be like an $83,000 house. So maybe for every $83,000, in this case, it depends on the coverage, about $770 per year, which is not that much. And you have to multiply up or down depending on the height. And
the remedy
with this,
for whatever you're looking to insure and the amounts you want to cover will determine the value of the insurance cost.
Okay, perfect. See, it's really good to know that because the amounts aren't very large, but it would be worthwhile to obtain the profession every year.
If you compare things of coverage in the United States versus coverage in Mexico, it will be much more accessible to have. The coverage here in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. And in your opinion, since you've been in the industry for so long, let's say on the Acapulco stage, what happens? The hurricane, which came almost unexpectedly. Have you seen companies that haven't fulfilled, let's say, certain claims or certain demands about what happened there? Or are there some, I guess not,
Milagro, I can't speak about companies I don't work with. No.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
I can talk to the companies I work with. And if you at some point to assess the risk, you do a job and add the coverage that do you think it will help minimize the risk? Usually insurers will pay, okay, there's this belief that insurance companies don't pay, right? Many times, one of the reasons why people don't want to contact because they say it's the insurance companies pays, right? Insured. We don't have the habit of reading what we're signing up for, and we assume that everything related to nature. But in a policy, it is stated in the general conditions and the character of the policy what it will cover and what are the conditions required for it to be covered. That risk. So if you assess the risk well, you insure that property, and if an event happens, except with the insurers I work with, we haven't experienced that problems. I mean, I can't speak for others because no, I am not familiar with the way it works, but I assume that as well as with those you work with, the others will also pay as long as they meet the conditions they tell you. The policy requirements needed to be met so it can cubrirse.
Perfect. So in the case that someone says, yes, I would like to insure my house, what kind of documentation is necessary for a client to start the process of contracting the insurer? Just the value of the cargo.
First thing to do is preferably if you can take photos so that when the request is submitted, the risk selection area,
and we'll see you in the next video. See you next time.
The risk that is being taken, and well, now I'm sticking to what is being requested. Once we get the green light and they tell us they do want to hire, then basically, like everything is already done online. I just need the policy holder's ID and a proof of address. The property you want to insure, you need to fill out an application, a series of questions I have to ask so that the application can be submitted online. The risk area evaluates it. And then they give us an answer saying, here is the policy under these conditions. In my case, I am an intermediary. The commitment is in common. I am not the one making the commitment. It is the insurance company. Normally, what I do is that once I've got the flu, then we get together again now with the technology. We can do this virtually. We review the policy to make sure that what I told you is what it really is in the policy, because as we say here, paper talks. I can come and make everything sound nice. And it turns out it wasn't even close to what I told you. So we checked with the police. Once we verify that everything is fine, then we will send it to you digitally. All the documentation, the policy character, the general conditions. If there's any endorsement, they will specify it too. Hey, the policy you are taking out, this particular coverage, for it to be valid, it must meet certain requirements, or this particular coverage won't apply. And they're going to set it according to police conditions. And then the payment schedule is set up. How are you going to pay? You can pay it annually, semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, by direct debit to your car, right? I know that. I send you the references so you can go directly to the bank or make your electronic transfer, or you want to set it up with a card. I'll ask you for the details so I can set it up. Then it will automatically be charged to your Bitcoin payment card.
And the person making the initial application, does it have to be the homeowner or could it be the daughter? Father
Yes, I
Nestor.
asked you who is going to be the head of the police.
Okay, does it really have to be the homeowner?
When you get bird insurance, who you are insuring, and the vehicle can be driven by this person, and by this other person. If there is an accident with the vehicle, as long as the person driving has their license to prove it, the driving permit will be covered. The same with home insurance, right? The main person might be one, but I want to be the consultant. The contractor is given, and the contractor will be asked for the requirements when it's time to request damage compensation. For example, for meteorological phenomena, if you stated that the value of everything on the roof is 200,000 pesos, they are just going to ask you to prove it. What you paid for your solar panels, for your air conditioners, right? Because I can say, well, no, my solar panel costs 500,000 pesos, but I only paid 200,000 pesos. So just show me how much it cost you, and I'll take care of the compensation.
So when making a claim for insurance, the process would just be having receipts to prove.
Specifically talking about solar panels and air conditioners for various issues, yes, they will ask us that situation, right? For example, if your glass breaks, well, you take a picture and send the picture, and he looks at it. The glass broke. That's why I sent you the photos so you can see it really broke. There are matters that they will ask of us to show
See you next time.
that indeed.
And then they assign the appropriate value according to the material.
Well, let's see, okay. The big window, how much does it cost? How thick the glass is, then they find out, they make a quote for how much that item costs. And based on that, they give you the compensation. Soon, they give you the money so you can buy that same item and use it. See you next time.
Bye. Perfect. In the case of policies that are, as we say, bundled together, sometimes they give discounts here if you buy the elephant, the car, the life insurance as a bundle. That's what you have in the independent plan.
Here, everyone gets this one. Sometimes it's for being a frequent customer. I'll give you a special price, but usually it's individual ones, right? This is your house police, this is your car police, right? In a car, yes, but when managing fleets, no. You've got more than 10 vehicles, so you could get a special price for. It's no longer a vehicle, you're securing it well. Merry Christmas.
Perfect. How often would you recommend reviewing the policy? Once a year?
Normally, I have the task. In fact, I make the commitment to my clients, right? When you get your policy, what do you normally do? They give you the policy, and just like that, you put it in a drawer. Cheers.
Hello. Goodbye.
So when they decide to make me their advisor, I tell them my commitment to you doesn't end here, as many didn't think. One of the commitments I'm going to add is that we're going to meet and I'm going to review your policy with you. But before reviewing your policy, because it might be that your needs may have changed over time, you need to increase other coverages, raise the value of the insured amount. Okay? So when we review your policy, well, before that actually, I give you a test. Your surprise face, it's like when you go to school and your teacher says there's going to be a quiz. Just a moment, another thing. Someone else says, let's do a test. Well, at least my clients know that when they get the email, congratulations for completing a year of pollinating. And I'm asking you to schedule your appointment for the review. They already know that the first thing we're going to do when we have the review, I'm going to give them their test. Now, just because you know it doesn't mean you've answered everything. If you have any questions or concerns, just ask. Well, I can't answer that for you. No, that's it. I have the peace of mind knowing that you, at least in general terms, you know what you're paying and you don't. My ears are buzzing because someone remembered that their insurance policy was charged to their card. That checkup, I usually say, we do it once a year, and that's when we evaluate, well, your needs, see what it is that you, and give yourself to the new police.
Thank you. Thank you very much. In that case, thanks. Well, it's good of your service to add that because sometimes there are agents who sell it and leave with the client or don't give updates on what it could be, or in this case, and it doesn't exist, that have purchased their policy in adequate time before a natural disaster. Suddenly you get several calls saying you're covered and that you're not, and they have that service with you. It's really valuable to have that control.
For me, it's just as important as like the after sales service. What you're buying, if you're buying an insurance policy, any other damages, you're protecting your property, your home, but you're also getting advice, an advisor. Why? I'm not saying I know everything, okay, but if I don't know, I promise I'll find out and give you the answer you need. So that added value that's what somehow it sets me apart from other advisors, because like you said, if I'm there at the time of selling, after the sale I disappear and I will only call you when your card was changed and could not be charged. So I call you and say, hey Natalie, look, your policy payment is pending, your period is about to expire. That's when you listen to me. No, well, I'm not into that because I need to stay alert. Also, make sure your policy is paid on time, because imagine if you forget.
The customer,
It's in their life, their day-to-day activities, and not having to worry about their home insurance policy expiring. So I need to make sure the policy is paid for in advance. We will be sending notifications. Great. You set up a direct debit with your card, but you know they changed your card, so it won't work anymore. Even though you want to pay, you want to change the card, we will do it. A change of card billing address, so it can be covered. So I have to be mindful of that part. And I have to keep an eye on your needs. If for some reason we have to remove wood, let's hope it doesn't come to that. Use the policy, because normally you hire insurance, whatever kind, life, medical expenses, home and auto, whatever, you hire it not to use it. But if for some reason you need to use that policy, it'll give you the peace of mind knowing that, well, all your assets won't be used up to cover that accident. And during that process, I'm there with you and I help you. Okay, hey, we're going to file a claim, so we need to gather this documentation. I need you to send it to me and I'll review it. I'll prepare the file, I'll bring the form for you to sign. See, and that's it. I'll keep an eye on it and let you know when it's done. They've deposited it to your account. Check the statement to see what they've taken. refunded that service. After sales service is important to me.